Hello again, Gunpla fans of YouTube. It's time for another Gunpla review, Unscripted, by yours truly, DZ Maven. Today we're taking a look at a P-Bandai kit. This is the add-on kit for one of the many add-on kits actually for the Gundam F90. This is the R-Type and V-Type add-on kit for the Master Grade Gundam F90. This came out in June of 2021 for the economical price of 2,300 yen. So is this add-on kit any good? Well, let's take a look and see what we got here. To the photos. Box. Monochrome box, typical of premium Bandai here, so not a whole lot to look at here. I do have one little complaint about this here, which I will kind of get into later here. So anyway, side of the box, another shot of the two variations you get here. Obviously the V-type stands for VSBR type, which is the big reason, and the VSBR is basically like a prototype F91, so you can kind of think of it that way. The R-type is the recon type, so it's basically made for stealth and reconnaissance. That's what it's geared around. So side of the box, nothing really to see here. Manual, very simple manual here, nothing really fancy here. Construction of the parts, it's pretty simple. There's nothing really too tricky or complicated here. It's kind of master grade quality. I'll get into that in a moment here. So you have the R-type, you build the R-type first, and they give you the instructions for the V-type parts. Then they show you how to assemble everything and put it on the kit here, and the various things you can do with the V-type parts, but there's a lot more to do with the V-type than there is with the R-type here. You do get a set of water slide decals you can use if you want. Here's where they suggest you apply those. If you're going to paint the kit, you might want to use those. If not, so just leave them aside. So here's the markings you get with the kit. You have those water slides I just mentioned here. You get two cables for the R-type, and you get a fairly sizable piece of foil stickers, which I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, here's the part runners here. We start with the R-type parts. It's just standard gray plastic for the R-type parts here. You got some pretty okay detail on them for the most part here, so I'm not really... I think they look pretty decent here. XB runner, combination of parts for some of the parts for the R-type, mostly parts for the V-type here, including the beam rifle parts here. XC is some blue parts. These are mainly for the V-type here. White runner here for more of the V-type parts, and a couple little parts for the R-type here. XDA is basically a partial duplicate of the first XD runner, and we get some yellow parts. Most of these are for the V-type, but a few of these go on the R-type here. So, and we get some nice clear neon green effect parts for the V-type here. Get some new beam sabers too for the V-type. So speaking of the stickers here, a lot of those red stickers you may have noticed are going to be for the V-type. I'm not particularly a big fan of that. I kind of wish Bandai had provided at least some red plastic runners to do some of the parts, like at least the ones on the machine cannon and the beam shield emitter parts. I know the ones on the fins are going to be hard to do as separate pieces, but I just kind of wish they had separate red parts for those. This would have been a little nicer to have, but since I don't really want to use the stickers on this kit, I went ahead and painted all these with red paint, so that's why I'm showing you how I masked all of these off for painting here. And especially for the fin pieces, I would suggest trying to paint the red on the fin piece instead of using stickers, because I have a feeling those stickers are not going to stay on there very well, and they're probably going to peel off very easily, so I strongly recommend trying to paint those. So here's a look at the parts you have with the R-type here. You have two of these arm-mounted camera, they call them camera guns. They go on the forearms here, and they have like little retractable cables. That's what these wires are for. There's a piece that goes on the backpack. That's this piece right here. On the legs, you get these little they're either mine layers or they're kind of decoy balloon layers, depending on what they're being used for here. So those attached to the legs, and on the shoulders you have these two, I don't know what you really want to call them here, these two giant shoulder covering parts. They actually double as remote cameras as well, so those actually will detach from the shoulders. Shoulders make them kind of fly around and do their own thing, from what I understand. So they're not really, I guess they do provide some sort of stealth ability to the recon type. I'm not really sure how that works in terms of Minovsky particles and whatnot, but whatever. So but this is how they look on the F90 here, so it's okay. I do say that these massive shoulder pieces do kind of hamper the movement of the arms a little bit here, but this is how they go on. So here's what it looks like from the backside here. You don't really have to do a whole lot of detail painting here. I did, actually no, I didn't do anything with the legs here. These are separate yellow parts that go inside the legs here, by the way. That is not painted. The only parts I actually painted were the tiny yellow bits on the front of the camera guns, kind of right there and there. I think that's the only thing I had to paint. Oh, I did paint the yellow around the camera, this little hole right here as well. Did that. The rest of these little camera lenses, these are all the foil stickers here. Again, I kind of wish Bandai had provided clear lenses for those. That way I could have painted them up to look a lot nicer. Otherwise, you will have to kind of do a dual layer of silver and clear blue on top of that to make them look decent. I didn't feel like putting in the effort for that. I just used the stickers to see what it looked like, and the stickers are okay. They're not. I'm not a big fan of these stickers for the camera, for all these camera lenses. They're okay. I kind of wish they were clear parts though. Would have been a lot easier. So here's just some photos of what the kit looks like with the R-type parts on there and up on the stand and everything. Now the extension cable, there's an adapter that plugs into the cable storage unit, which is on the arm, and that kind of shoots out and attaches to the back of the camera unit. You can kind of pose that. It's a fairly thick wire here, and I don't think there's really going to be any issues trying to hold the cameras up. You're probably going to be more concerned about the wire rotating on you rather than bending down, so just kind of keep that in mind. Here's a little close-up of the camera part here. Again, a little tiny little yellow thrusters that kind of on the front there. If you want to be accurate, you would want to paint those in. You don't have to. It's not really a big deal. It's up to you. I like trying to be color accurate when I can, so I went ahead and painted those in. Here's both the cameras out on their camera guns and positions and stuff like that. Here's a little flyer cameras, I guess for extra long range recon. I guess you want to use these here. So here's what it looks like on the underside here. Lots of little panel lines here, so take your time with that. Here it is up in the air with back on the stand with the beam saber and beam rifle on the back here. So you can still give it the beam rifle and beam sabers if you want. Again, these shoulder parts do kind of hamper the articulation a bit. It's a nice, decent photo of that there. Alright, so let's move on to the pack that I'm most interested in, which is the V-type pack. For those unaware, my very first Gunpla kit was the F90 V-type kit. And this was probably way back in like 1998, 97, like around that time, so ages ago. So I have a particular fond memories of the V-type F90, so I was very curious to see how the official master grade version of the V-type will look. And for the most part, it's pretty good. I do have a few minor nitpicks about it here, which I'll get into. So, but anyway, here's all the V-type parts that come with the kit. A pretty decent selection of parts. They make use, I think, of all the hard points on the F90, so if you want a full pack of parts, this is a good pack to have. So So here it is all arranged as the VSBR type F90 here, and I want to say it looks good. It looks good, provided you do some proper detail painting on it. It looks really good. If you don't do detail painting, it just looks okay. So here it is from the back side. Again, pretty decent looking. Is it better than the original V-type kit? Obviously, it's better. Here's a close-up of the profile of the V-type here. I did paint as I mentioned, I did paint the edges on the fins here. They're very tricky to mask that because the fins are not separate pieces on the top here. They're all molded together as one piece. So I kind of wish they were separate parts. It would have made it a lot easier to mask and paint those. But I did my best with that. So. There's the beam rifle. The beam rifle is kind of big on this thing here. It's a pretty big, beefy beam rifle here. They do give you a couple stickers for the cameras. I painted the red up here, but I went ahead and used a sticker down here for the gray piece because that would just be easier to use. So I did kind of try to paint a camera on the scope. You don't have to paint that in. I don't even know if there's supposed to be anything there or not, but I went ahead and painted it in just because I thought it would look nicer that way. Here's in the crouch down pose. You can still crouch the kit with all that stuff on it. As you can see, that beam rifle is just big. It is a big beam rifle. I don't technically know what the difference is between this beam rifle is and the standard one. I like to think of this as the advanced beam rifle for the F90. So that's how I'm going to think of it as. It doesn't really look at all like the beam rifle on the F91, so I really don't know what to make of it, but anyway. Enough about the beam rifle here. Here's a little action shot pose here. Get here. Up on the action stand. Some action poses with the beam rifle here. The fins on the legs do move around and adjust, so if you're going to pose the kit, do be sure to adjust those properly, however you want those to be. And here it is with the beam shield effect part here. It's a pretty nice beam shield effect part. I'll show you how it actually goes together when I get to the live view here. There's a little action shot pose here, pretty nice picture. And here it is with the beam sabers. It comes with new beam sabers here. They have the neon green blades, and they hook onto the side skirt on this kit here. So pretty nice. And for those wondering, yes, they are UV reactive, so they will glow very bright green when you shine a UV light on them. Here's the double beam sabers here. And here's the machine cannon that goes on the right forearm here. It's a pretty nice machine cannon. I like it. Here's another shot of the machine cannon here. Alright, so here's the VSBR. These are attached to the back. They have a little flexible joint right here that you can kind of get it around and adjust it how you want. The handle will slide back and forth and kind of tilt side to side a little bit for better posability on the hands here. And you can see with both hands on the handles here. Not the easiest thing to get on the hands because the hands are kind of fixed posed anyway, so you have to be careful with the hands. The hands on the F90 don't really bend back and forth very well, so you have to. It's a little tricky to get the hands on the handles there, but I managed to get it on there in a pretty decent pose, so it may require a little bit of finagling to get on there. And here's another little action shot pose here. And one more picture pose, and that is going to be it. Alright, so let's get to the live view. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail. Alright, so right now I already have it set up as the V-type here because I usually keep it this way now for display purposes here, and stuff is falling off already before I even started to talk about anything right here. But anyway, since that fell off here, here's the beam sabers here. They kind of clip in. The top one, for whatever reason, doesn't really want to stay in very well. kind of slides back a lot. So, yeah, just kind of keep an eye on that. Try not to lose it. You get your little thruster parts that go in the front of the side skirts here. If you want to be accurate, you want to paint the red on the inside of the thruster bells here, because otherwise that's just gray plastic here. On the inside here, we have the spare beam shield emitter here, and this goes right there. Let's see what we want to talk about here. The fins here, they don't move around, they're just kind of fixed on the top right there. Again, you want to paint the edges of the fins here. You got a separate yellow piece for that right there here. Machine cannon on form here. You can bend it around like that if you want, and do things like that. I think it looks pretty good the way it is, so I just like to leave it alone. Beam rifle, like I mentioned, pretty big beam rifle here. Let me compare it to the actual F90 beam rifle here, just kind of see how much bigger that is. So it's a pretty chunky beam rifle. Again, I wish we had clear parts for the lenses and everything all throughout this kit here. They do have the nice little clear lens on the original beam rifle here, which looks really nice. I just wish I could have had the same thing for this here. I do feel like Bandai was being a little cheap here on a few things here. I just kind of wish they would have put the extra effort in to make this pack, give this pack the due justice it deserves. The fin pieces on the back here, these fins will move up and down and adjust them how you want to. Same thing on the back here, this piece here will adjust like so. Yeah. You do get a little sticker for the triangle symbol right there, and the yellow thruster vents on the back and front, you will have to paint those in, otherwise that's just a gray plastic right there. Here's the actual beam shield emitter piece right here. Let me take this off and show you how the beam effect part goes on in here. So, as I mentioned here, this red here, they normally give you a sticker for that. I painted that in because that would just be easier here, so. Again, I kind of wish there was a separate red piece for that, but that's just the way Bandai is. So, to get that this beam shield effect part on here, you need to take this apart, and you need to take the yellow part out. And then stick this on here. So, kind of a tight fit. Get it in there. Go in. Go. And then try and pick this up off the flat surface somehow. And plug it back together, and there is your beam shield effect part. You can stick it back on the kit here. So you can have it like that. You can move it around like so, like that. So you can do some pretty decent posability with this here. My only real nitpick about this here is that I kind of wish Bandai could have done this a little better, so you wouldn't have to take the yellow piece out. Because the beam shield is supposed to come out of these spots around the beam shield, and without that in there, it kind of looks like this piece just disappeared. Now the beam shield is like this. On the original F90, the old one, you didn't have to do any of that. It just, the effect piece just kind of clipped around the beam shield piece. It's not a huge deal, it's just kind of a nitpick for me since I built the original kit. But I kind of wish Bandai could have done that better. But, whatever. Alright, so let's move around to the VSBRs on this kit here. So, and the back of the kit here. So, I'm going to get this kind of out of the way here. All this red and black, I had to paint this in. This just comes in straight gray plastic. This just comes in straight blue plastic. Also, you have to paint the yellow into these vents back here. Now, I'm bringing all of this up here because, again, this is kind of the way the kit is meant to look. But I know some people are like, well, it doesn't have to look that way. You know, it's just, okay, whatever. You don't have to paint that in. It's kind of optional. But like I mentioned, I like to try and be accurate with the way things are supposed to look on the kit. And this brings me back to the box art. Because the box art is in monochrome, as well as the manual. So if you're trying to figure out how to accurately paint this, you'll have no idea from the manual or the box art how to paint this. They don't even give you a color guide in the kit. So I'm like, I had to go out of my way to find all the pictures that Bandai had put out of the Master Grade V-Type kit and try and piece together how everything is supposed to be painted and how to look. You have to go out of your way to research all of that and figure out how to paint things properly on this kit. So I wish Bandai had included a color guide in the manuals somewhere, just so people who are interested in painting this kit when they get it, they know what everything is supposed to look like. So I feel like that was kind of something Bandai didn't think about when they made this here, and that type of information is kind of helpful if you're going to be painting your kit. That said, you have red on top of blue here and red on top of dark gray here. I had to paint this over like 2 layers of red paint just to kind of make it look decent here. So you'll have to double layer the paint here. The yellow is not too much of a problem because it's on top of white here, so it's not really a big deal here. So, and the same thing for the beam shields here. You gotta paint this red twice here so it doesn't, because you're painting on top of blue here, which is always not the most ideal circumstance here. But anyway, enough about the painting here. VSBR. Let me just kind of show you how the joints on this work here. Up in the torso here. So you can kind of get this around up underneath, like so. And the handle slides forward and back like that. And it will bend back and forth like so for posing here. Like I mentioned, you can get it into the hands. It's a little tricky here to do it here because, like I mentioned, the hands on the F90 don't really bend back that far, so it makes it kind of hard to get it in there. But with some finagling, you'll get it in there. So anyway, it's kind of get into place, and you can kind of press these together to kind of lock them in place if you want them in there. So. But you know, even though I may nitpick about a few things like the paint accuracy and color accuracy on this thing, I still like it. I still like the V-Type F90. I like that I have this here, so it's nice to have. So I think it's still worth having if you're interested in collecting these mission packs for the F90 here. So anyway, that's about all I really got to say about the V-Type here. So let me just show up the R-Type parts here. I'm not going to take everything off of that here, just kind of show you. You can look at the photos here. But anyway, this is a little side skirt flyer here. Wings will fold down, and this piece folds down like that. So, as I mentioned, when it's on here, I think I can probably get this on here for a moment here, just to show you here. Just to show you how it kind of is a little weird on here. But let me get this on. Go on. Look, I can't find these slots. Why can't I find the slots? There we go. Anyway. Okay, so it goes on there like that. You can bend the arm around a little bit. This does kind of get in the way. It doesn't fold down all the way either, by the way, because it runs into the torso. And this will run into the backpack too when the backpack's on there, so it doesn't really fold down all the way, so it's kind of like that. So, it's okay. I'm just kind of nitpicking about that here. So it's just something I thought was just not ideal, if I was going to describe it that way. So. Anyway, here's the little mine layers. They attach to the side of the legs. Like so. Not much to talk about there. And this piece goes on the backpack of the F90. Backpack right here, and it'll just plug into the back. Like so. Again, these are all stickers here. I wish they were clear parts, but whatever. And the camera guns, this is what they call them here, the camera gun attachments here, like that. And come off like so. And you plug this end onto here. And this other end will go into the camera. Like so. So we have it like that. You can push around. Like I said, the wire, it's a pretty strong wire. It's not gonna droop. The only thing is it might end up rotating down like that. So that's the only thing to watch out for on that. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of it for the expansion set here. It's an okay expansion set. If I was going to get one expansion set for the Master Grade F90, it was going to be this one. So here's that beam saber here. I still like it. I still like having this, so I'm not saying this is a bad thing here, even though I may nitpick about it here, but I just kind of feel like Bandai could have done a little better here with this. Like, it doesn't quite live up to the Master Grade standard that I'm used to. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. He's came off here. That's that here. So, but I mean, again, this is kind of more for enthusiasts and collectors anyway. So, people like me are gonna go ahead and paint the details in anyway. So it's like, I guess I can't really complain about it too much here. But anyway, that is the Master Grade F90 V-Type and R-Type expansion set pack for the Master Grade Gundam F90. I hope you found that informative and maybe entertaining on some level, and maybe you want to think about picking this up if you can still find it somewhere. I think out of the mission packs, I like the V-Type the best here. Some of the others are pretty nice. I might pick up one of the others. I still kind of want to get the, if possible, the D-Type at some point, the Destroyed type, and eventually the A-Type, which is the flight type version of this here, which we assault type is basically what they call it here. I'd like to have that too at some point. But anyway, that's it for the review. Hope you found it interesting and informative, and I will see you next time. Take care and keep on building. Bye bye.